Since Toy Semper just got done looking at a bunch of Combiner War Legends class figures, I kind of got in the mood to review just one more, but we'll random review this one just for a little bit of a change up, and also because this one just came in yesterday, so it was kind of hard to fit into the Toy Semper scripting because I didn't even realize I would be able to get it. But this is the Legends class Combiner Wars Shockwave, much anticipated as most Shockwave releases tend to be. So, be it a simple one. I don't know how long this video is going to go today, but we're just going to sit around, play with it, and see what comes out. As we can see, Shockwave is, what is Shockwave, now that I look at it? Well, he's not his old gun mode, but he certainly looks like his old gun mode, doesn't he? He's even got the targeting reticle up there and everything. But he's got these little fins along the sides, and there are tail fins molded into the back. Now, the official description on Hasbro Toy Shop actually does say this is a cannon mode, so I guess he's supposed to be a cannon now rather than a gun. But, you know, toy cannon's really not a huge market, so I'm willing to bet there's a little bit of wing and tail fin just to kind of pretend he is some kind of space cruiser. It's kind of similar to his Fall of Cybertron figure was, because that one kind of looked like his old gun mode without a handle too. But this one even more so. The shapes are dead on. Anyway, as you can see, he is cast in mostly purple, though a lot of that purple is done in paint. You might be able to see a slight variance between paint and plastic, but the paint match is actually pretty good here. The only trace you can tell, the only trace of any indication that this is not molded in plastic is translucent purple, which is done for the barrel, as well as a few bits back here, which are more important in robot mode than they are here. But just to get those parts painted, or just to get those parts clear, a lot of this toy ended up being molded in clear plastic. We'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, for mostly purple, some clear purple, and some gray, he looks pretty good. I mean, that's pretty much Shockwave spot on, isn't it? So, no real complaints there. Decepticon logo, tampographed. I do like a lot of the little molding. You can see a lot of little tiny details, a lot of little grooves here and there, panel lining. I like all this like tech junk in the back. Not exactly sure what that accomplishes, but hey, I kind of like the look. I also like that in spite of him not having any kind of gun handle, he's not a gun anymore, he's a cannon, he still has an iron sight molded in. Like that little ridge up there for manual aiming, even though he has this massive targeting reticle on the top. That seems a little counterproductive and a little bit, I don't know, a little bit superfluous. I don't know. But that's pretty much all there is. There's a couple nubs on the bottom, so he can actually just stand still, but that's boring. So let's go ahead and get him into robot mode, and we'll see if there's a little bit more to talk about there. I'm going to open up the barrel, which is going to form his legs. And in an interesting little thing, someone asked me last night in the stream if Combiner Wars had any Plastic Addict worthy toys. No, but I will say Breakdown being my least favorite, all because of this weird hip thing he has with this inner hinge to get the hips down here for one mode and all the way up here for robot mode, and it doesn't quite work. Here on Shockwave, he's got the same kind of hips going on, but it actually does work. It's really tight for starters, so that gets it, it makes it a little bit sturdier, but it also does put his hips exactly where they should be, which does not quite get accomplished on the other figure. Up here, we can split all this down. All this comes down to the sides. This will all unfold into his arms. There's a double hinge here. Well, I say double hinge, one's a ball joint. And we can curve those down, bend it just like so. All this can fold to the back, and when we do, the head springs up, and we'll clean up the parts on the back just to make him a little bit more flush and clean looking. And just like that, we have our little Legends Shockwave in robot mode. Looking exceptionally good. The proportions on him are excellent. This is a very powerful, very hardy looking Shockwave. It's right up my alley as far as proportions and aesthetics. You know, and it definitely beats the Fall of Cybertron version in that sense because, man, I didn't like how scrawny that toy looked. Good toy, but scrawny. The mad scientist, the ever logical one. Whichever way you've cast him, Shockwave is kind of an iconic character with one of the most unique looks in Transformers. That Cyclops eye and that clear chest. Looking exceptionally cool here. I really like how well it's done. The head is done extremely well. Little dot of yellow there in the center, all painted black around. And we have his horns on the sides, ears, whatever you want to call them, painted up in the silver on all sides. So it looks very much like, you know, Megatron's watchdog over Cybertron. Extremely cool. I also like how this clear purple has a bit of a red hue to it. It's more of a, I don't know, what do we want to go with? I don't know, some form of reddish purple. You know, we'll go with magenta. How about that? That works a little bit better, I feel, than just like a light purple. Light purple would have been a little bit more traditional, but this gives them a little bit of extra color, you know, and I don't mind that little extra pop every now and then in a Shockwave. A little bit more paint in the midsection to show off his spectacular 8-pack abs. Shockwave has been doing his sit-ups, boys and girls. Now we go down to the hands and the arms, and we'll show you, yeah, this is where more of the clear plastic comes in. The entirety of the arm below the elbow is done in clear plastic on both sides, all for the sake of getting his translucent hands, which is one of his signature appearances. I don't feel it's very necessary, though, especially when it, you know, forces you to make a ball joint socket out of clear plastic. It's a fairly hardy one, though, and I will tell you right now, the joint itself only really feels tight when rotating the part. So there is some friction there. I think it's mostly caused by the paint. So the more this joint gets used, the more that paint's going to wear out a little bit, and the softer that joint's going to get, which gives me a little bit of hope that these aren't going to go anywhere. You know, I think those might actually hold up. Down lower, the legs themselves that were the cannon barrel, these are now also clear plastic as well. I'll show you from behind. You can see all of that is just the same magenta plastic, all painted purple. It seems kind of extreme here. Like, I would have been like I would have perfectly accepted these parts being painted their proper colors, and it seems like they would have used a lot less paint to do it that way. This seems kind of a waste of paint material. Like, I don't know what's cheaper, but that seems like it's more expensive than it should be to paint so much surface area when you could have just molded it that color. I don't know. That's just me. You do what you have to do. I know a lot of people who are going to be very happy that he's got his clear gun hand and his clear right hand and all that. He does away with the gray barrel, but I will admit I kind of like the look of the color around the knees. Oh well. So the color works out good for me. Molding, he's exceptional. He looks extremely good. On articulation, he has fully ball-jointed shoulders. Great range of motion there. The neck is also ball-jointed. All the tilting and rotating and rocking that you could want, he can do. Nothing in the waist. Unfortunately, waist joints becoming a lost art. Ball-jointed elbow as described, so it rotates as well as bend to a 90 degree. Really good range in hips. Like I said, the hips work much better here than they do in breakdown despite similar construction. Thigh swivel. Extremely deep knee bends for all those lunging knees that Shockwave is so prone to doing. And a little bit of ankle rock. It's pretty loose down here. So I don't think this is going to be prone to any kind of clear plastic failure. But it also is not going to really help you on poses just because there's no real friction to hold anything. So he does an exceptionally good job, and he is a very solid toy. Very nice to transform, too. I've transformed this guy a bunch of times, and he just feels good. Like, he's got a nice, solid transformation to him. Like, I really wish he was a bigger figure as a result. But then he wouldn't be able to combine with any of the Combiner War figures. Speaking of, let's get this guy back into gun mode. Since this is just a Legends toy, the video would be a little bit short otherwise. So we can bulk it out a little bit, and we'll reverse the transformation. This is one of those toys where you can kind of flip around some of the steps and just do it in the order you feel like. I kind of like that, just because, oh, geez. Did I get something stuck? Yeah, I got something stuck. There we go. Just because it's a little bit more of a casual transformation. You don't have to constantly remember the exact order the parts have to go in for one to move into the correct position from the other. Now this time, when we transform it, there's this cheeky little piece, which we're going to fold all the way down. Normally, for the cannon mode, this would get folded down, but I'm going to leave it up like that. Fold the arms back to where they go. They peg in. Fold these back up. Get them hinged all the way up. It's a tight little hinge, but now his cannon mode actually does have a handle. And while it is not a handle suited for a human hand, which means it is not being sold as a gun toy, it definitely is a large gun accessory. So it's not really a triple changer, he just kind of grows a handle. A handle that happens to fit pretty well in the hand of a Combiner War limb in arm mode. So any of the Combiner War toys can wield Shockwave, which is quite an awesome thing to have. And gets saddled with Bruticus a lot, so that was kind of a perfect little choice for giving him a little bit of transforming weaponry. Again, it's an extremely cool mode, and I love that it does have a handle for larger toys to hold. I really wish this extra little bit didn't hang on there. It helps hold in a Combiner War toy's hand better that way, but that does come with one downside in that, unfortunately, this means a lot of the older toys with larger, meatier hands and anything that has kind of a molded, sculpted hand that's a little bit more open has a hard time holding on to the handle, which is unfortunate. It does limit how many figures can actually hold onto this toy. I was trying with like previous Shockwaves, and on the deluxe side, yeah, older Shockwaves can handle it, but the Voyager Shockwaves I've tried, Shock Blasts as well, they cannot quite manage. But hey, sometimes it kind of works. But yeah, it's a little bit big for a deluxe, but if you got anything larger and the hand is thin enough, he can hold it too. So that is Legends Class Shockwave. It's an exceptionally good Legends toy. I love the look in both modes. It is very G1 representative and still very up to date. There's a lot of clear plastic use, but none of the usage really worries me too much. It's really fun to transform, and hey, it's a Shockwave that a lot of your toys should be able to hold on to, which makes it exceptionally cool. And now I wait for the onslaught of requests for reviewing all these new Combiner War guys. We'll get to them. Maybe.